Andy Schaller, and then after that is Suzanne Squire.
Good evening, Commissioners. I stand here again, as I have for the last 3 years. I came here originally to address a county road paving program project that was going to cause 9 pavement changes in the distance of a 12-lot road. It would have been dirt, asphalt, dirt, asphalt, dirt, asphalt. 9 pavement changes in 12 lots. It was the first project of this type that was going to be done by the county in the history of the county. About 18 months ago, this board asked the internal auditor, Mr. Bergeron, to take a look at the road paving program, and specifically this neighborhood. He did a 9-month investigation, and as he told this board, he spent 1,262 hours reviewing the process and could have spent more time. You heard Mr. Webb say that he spent about the same amount of time. So about $250,000 has been spent so far with what Commissioner Aronson called 7 months ago really no conclusion whatsoever. I stood in front of you last month and asked you to come back with the recommendations of Mr. Webb, who said, or who was asked by Commissioner at that time, Chairman Aronson, to come back with recommendations on how to fix this. Last week, or last month rather, after the meeting, I sent a note to, or an email to this entire board, and specifically you, Commissioner Marcus, asking what those recommendations might be. Another month has gone by. So now we have 7 months after a 9-month investigation. The district commissioner has accused me falsely of spending this county's $250,000, as was refuted by both Commissioner Aronson and Commissioner Vanna. I'm going to ask you now, Commissioner Santa Maria, as the district commissioner, rather than piling on and making a bad issue even worse, why don't you take a leadership role and say $250,000 has been spent? This board, this auditor, this engineering department have all come to the conclusion that there's been problems. Why, sir, don't you take a lead forward and fix it? The problems haven't gone away. Your auditor's report doesn't lie unless you're going to say that false evidence was presented to you by your own auditor. Commissioner Marcus, you're the 4th commissioner chair since this has come up. I ask you one more time on behalf of our neighborhood that's going to be underwater, meaning the county road that this county has built since this has started sits underwater during the rainy season. One more time, ma'am, emphatically, what can be done and when can I and my neighbors in the neighborhood expect to get the recommendations of the engineer that was asked for by Commissioner Aronson 7 months ago?
Thank you, Mr. Schaller. I think we've referred that to Mr. Weissman, and hopefully he will respond to whatever questions. I think we've tried to supply as much information as possible.
I've
Thank
received
you.
nothing in a month, ma'am.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Vanna.
You know, I was chairman of the audit committee when all this went down, and we didn't come up because of the expertise level, and the auditor said he just didn't have the expertise to deal with it. I said I want to put on my wall, what would a reasonable person do? And I just have to say, I think a reasonable person would say, fix the road already. Just fix it. We made some mistakes. So I don't understand why we can't manage to do that.
I think it's a budget issue, which is the reason that we were unable to do it to begin with. The mistakes were made along the way, perhaps there, but I think it is a budget issue, Mr. Weissman. Now, certainly if the board is interested in pursuing that, when he brings back the budget, he can look at including that in the budget, if you'd like him to do that.
You know, sometimes we do a lot of other things to go around the circle. We spend more money than if we would have just fixed it in the first place. So, I don't know. It just seems reasonable that we would fix that little stretch.
There are other roads in the neighborhood which you'd also have to address that might view this in a similar manner. But it's basically a money issue.
Yes, it is a money issue, and I guess if you were to bring back just this one road, you ought to bring back the...
There's another section as well that should be brought back, maybe 2 other sections.
And bring it back as part of the budget process.
We can certainly do that.
Okay. Suzanne